Yangi Yelbilan, Snovum Godum. 2016 is an important year of the partnership between UNODC and the government of Uzbekistan. We propose to strengthen our work that relates to addressing drugs, crime and terrorism prevention. We believe that our efforts will actually help in strengthening the response to prevent the spread of any kind of crime and also make our communities healthier. The work of UNODC is enshrined within the conventions of the United Nations as they relate to transnational organized crime and its protocols, the 3 UN conventions against drugs, as well as the instruments that relate to terrorism prevention and the UN Convention against the corruption. In 2015, UNODC signed a new program for addressing the complex issues of drugs, crime and terrorism with Central Asian countries. Uzbekistan is an important partner in the rollout of this program. We propose to work with the law enforcement agencies on strengthening the response within the country to address the issues of drugs. This would mean strengthening the border controls, having better and strong container control programs, on one hand to strengthen the trade between countries and on the other hand to prevent the misuse of these very containers for illicit drugs and also illicit products. A strong border would mean that we address not just the narcotics but also the flow of illicit cash as well as any kind of contraband products across the borders. On one hand, we want to make sure there is greater movement and facilitation of the borders, but on the other hand, we also want to prevent smuggling of migrants and human trafficking. The essence of any convention is to strengthen and help the communities to become stronger and safe places. In doing that, UNODC is partnering with the government of Uzbekistan's Ministries of Interiors, the Customs, the Border Services, the Ministries of Health and Education and Justice. 2016 will also see the partnership between the UN and the government of Uzbekistan in nationalizing the Sustainable Development Goals that were signed in 2015 by the countries. And in doing that, especially on Goal 16 that relates to rule of law and justice, we believe that this is an opportunity for us to collectively address what we call in an inclusive society, make sure that we have access to good justice for everybody. A good and strong government with good, strong governance means that the fruits of development will reach the most vulnerable populations in the country. The President of Uzbekistan declared 2016 as a year of mother and child health. And the mother is the most important teacher and the first teacher for a child. In our efforts to prevent drug use, we will be engaging with communities through both the Ministry of Health and Education in strengthening our partnership for rollout of a program that is called FAST, which is to bring families and schools together, as well as the family support program to allow for the parents to have better interaction and communication with young people. The wealth of any country is its young people, its children, and the future of Uzbekistan lies with them. And therefore, if we prevent any kind of behavior that relates to vulnerabilities to drug use, as well as any kind of terrorism, we would also be strengthening the very resource that will allow for better and brighter future for Uzbekistan. In April 2016, there will be an important global event, that is the UN General Assembly session will take place. We believe that the voice of the government of Uzbekistan as well as the people of Uzbekistan will be very important in shaping the policies and the programs and perspectives on narcotics related issues, not just on drug law enforcement, but also in the balanced approach that relates to health matters, as well as to looking at the illicit financial flows and the nexus between drugs, crime and terrorism. It is very important that when we shape the policies, we have strong evidence, and one of the areas of our cooperation with the government of Uzbekistan will be to strengthen the efforts to have good and strong evidence. That means knowing the problem and to have better evidence that will also help us in looking at strong policies and help us in deploying the resources where it is most required in addressing drugs, crime and terrorism issues. We believe that for the fruits of development to reach the communities, it is very important that we collectively work on anti-corruption matters, on the illicit financial flows. Even in the words of Ban Ki-moon, our Secretary General, as well as the UNODC Executive Director, Mr. Feathertov, if we want development to be there where it involves and benefits everybody, we need to make sure that we address the issues of illicit financial flows, corruption, as well as looking at cash flows that actually prevents this flow of services and goods to people who need it most. Addressing vulnerabilities and risks is very important, and for the revenues to reach the exchequer, it is our collective effort and endeavor to make sure that Uzbekistan is able to have strong legislative frameworks as well as institutional mechanisms that address the complex issues of corruption. So on one hand, we'll be working with law enforcement. On the other, we'll be looking at the health aspects and including within the framework of the UN Development Assistance Framework and the Sustainable Development Goals to address our mandates with partnership of the government of Uzbekistan. For all of us, it's important we do not forget our people. And for our people not to forget that these are the very problems that will change the shape of development in the country. And therefore, we look forward to a very strong partnership between the civil society, the government, the international donors, and the practitioners of development in addressing these issues. Thank you.